Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Everything Happens for a Reason podcast. So today I have Casey-Jade with me today.
Hello.
Very, very exciting guest. Very different guest, I would say, because I don't know anybody that would do what you do to start with, and just even the conversations that we're going to get into, I think it is going to be insightful.
Oh.
And I think it's
I hope so.
But I do think so, and I think it's going to be something that's different, and like you said, like I know we were speaking beforehand, like even just opening people's eyes to different sort of aspects in general. But can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, hello. And my name is Casey-Jade. Where am I looking in here?
Yeah, you can look at me, you're fine.
Oh, I'm looking. Look at you, baby girl. No, my name is Casey-Jade and I am a performer and I also teach drama. I am the eldest sibling of 5 and I come from a large family. A crazy large family, but a very loving one, who has taught me a lot over the years. And yeah, I'm in a band, which is a tribute to Fleetwood Mac. We're called Big Love. And we go out most weekends, touring Ireland and singing Fleetwood Mac tunes, which is class. Yeah.
I love it. And have you always done that?
No, so I've always been involved with the arts. From I was no age, I think I maybe started around 8 or 9, you know, a real passion and love for it. But singing was one of those things that sort of came second hand to me. It was more so acting and things that I was into, and writing stories and storytelling, you know, more so than anything. But I would have sang if I had a bit of drink in me, you know. After a couple of shots of the old body, I was like, yoo! I was like, right, come on, everybody. So would have an old Kaylee in the house, you know, everybody, the whole family. It was like a thing in our family. It was everybody had to do a party piece, you know. So mine was singing when I was a wee bit drunk, and yeah, I didn't think I would end up doing singing professionally, but it all happened very, very quickly. I was introduced to my band members through a mutual friend of ours, whilst we were actually doing an acting class, and lovely girl Karen, and she was like, "Can you sing?" And I was like,
I think so. Give me a shot.
I was like, with a wee bit of it, aye. And she was like, well, she's like, I know these guys, all the rest, you know. And she was like, why don't you go for an audition? I was like, do you know what? I was like, I might as well, sure, you know. Sometimes you just have to take a risk. And then I met up with Kevin and Billy in the Mill Court in Killisland, and got on like a house on fire with them. 2 lovely, lovely men, like, honestly. And they were like, you know, happy days if you can sing, but it's, you know, the personality and the crack, you know, more so than anything. They were like, sure, come on down to the studio and give it a go. And I went down and sang Rihanna, and they were like, you're in the band. And I was like, yeah, happy day.
Unreal.
So that was it. I hit the ground running, and I haven't looked back since. It was really, it's really built my confidence, and them guys have trained me, you know. I think it was like 30 songs within couple of weeks learning, you know. Crazy. To get straight out onto the road, like. And I was a nervous wreck, I'm not gonna lie, but you do it and you get through it, you know, and with the help of them by my side, you know.
100%. But I feel like with things like that, you're always going to be nervous. You know what I mean? No matter how confident you are. Like, I can't imagine freaking Beyonce getting on that stage going, I'm the shit. You know, what I mean? She's giving herself a pep talk.
That's the thing. And like, you know, I think it's important to feel a wee bit of nerves, because it means that you care about it enough. 100%, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's good if you can channel that into excitement, because then you're like, right, I'm raring to go. A wee bit of nerves is healthy, definitely. I'm still training myself on that, you know, because at times I get on stage and the heart's going a dinger, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. But once the music starts and you get into it, you're like, right.
But this is the thing, especially the more you do it, it's something you don't even have to think about anymore. Do you know what I mean? It just becomes part of the process. It's just essentially walking out. All the lights are on you, all the eyes are on you. Yeah. It's gonna be scary no matter what.
I know. But then you catch the audience, and they a lot of the time are what give you that energy to keep going.
Yeah.
They push you to keep going, you know, no matter how you're feeling or what personal issues you might have going on in the background, which everybody does, because we're only human. And you know, we go on stage, and yes, you have to leave that at the door, you know, sort of thing, which can be tough. But when you get on stage, you look out to the audience, and you know, you might catch a glimpse of people, you know, just smiling up at you, like, you know, this is a class song and all, and you're like, right, that's what we're doing.
It's for you.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you need that energy bounce back, you know, to be able to really channel, I suppose, your inner being and really and give them what they paid for, you know what I mean?
100%, because that's the thing. You're doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for your audience as much as anything else. Do you know what I mean? And seeing that positive like reinforcement, like if there could be a crowd of 20 people, and if there's one person sitting there vibing, like you're there for that.
I love nothing more than seeing people getting up and doing a wee dance or a wee jive about like that actually keeps me going. I literally be like, and we're a Fleetwood Mac band, you know, like a tribute to Fleetwood Mac, but I'd be going, you in the middle of it, like, and the people jiving about. I'm like, that's class. You know, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And live music, and it's really important for people to continue coming to live gigs and supporting that, because I think things have just became so much off track with social media and stuff now, because you're seeing a lot online, you know, people creating music and singing music and stuff, but like actually being there, being in the place, you know, as a community, as one, under the one roof, and enjoying something like a performance, you know, it's you know, we'll have to keep that going, sort of thing, you 100%. Know. I think it's really, really important. And I have to say, like, we're really, really lucky because it is songs, you know, so well known, and there's a range of ages that do know and love it. We have wee children maybe from like 8 or 9 in our audience, right up until the age of maybe 80, nearly 90, you know, like, and it's class to see. It's like a whole range of just different audiences, and you know, it's just important to keep that sort of community and live music going.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say as well, because like you said, today's day and age, like social media, freaking ChatGPT and everything else. Do you know what I mean?
Like, he's solving all my problems at the minute.
Oh, same. No, like, I slag him, but I love him.
ChatGPT, same, like.
But it is, like, we are so glued to our phones, and it's like, you can watch anything on Instagram, you can watch anything on TikTok, you don't have to essentially show up to the pub or whatever, you know, wherever it is that you're performing, but nothing will ever take away from in-person like experience. Like, community is what keeps us as humans together.
Going,
like,
we need it. We actually need it to, you know, survive. And a lot of the time, especially in this day and age, I find that, you know, we feel in a way we have to isolate ourselves. You know, there is this thing about self-growth and all the rest, but a lot of your self-growth is done when you're surrounded by people, you know, and yes, isolation is important also, you know, to learn how to be on your own and navigate that path also. But as you said there, you know, we are definitely, that's how we survive as community.
100%.
and having that, you know.
You need that around you from every single aspect. But if we sort of rewind back to like maybe when you were in school and that side of things, did you come out of school like thinking this is what my life is going to be? I'm going to go into arts, you know, singing, that sort of thing, or not really?
So I didn't think I was going to go into singing, but whenever I was in secondary school, that's when I sort of started doing, you know, bigger shows. Before that, I was doing like you know, like pantomimes maybe, or like school shows, you know, in primary school. We silly shows like, and I always, like, I used to be writing plays whenever I was literally no age. Like, I remember me and my friends, you know, writing plays, creating bands out the back, and I was using a set of lights on, like, a decking for drums, like, you know.
Yeah.
Like, we were charging people £3 in the back gate of my garden, like.
Here, business is business,
business is business, like, you know, and we would have messed about band-wise and stuff, you know, creating wee bands and all as children do, and then it wasn't until secondary school then I went in and started doing proper theatre shows.
Okay.
And then I was like, this is the route I want to take. I was like, this is definitely what I want to do. I couldn't see myself doing anything else, and still couldn't, like, really. And then from secondary school, I was a bit of a rebel without a cause. I just did not settle well in secondary school. It wasn't really for me. Like, I met some of the best friends that I still have until today in secondary school. I have very, very good friends, luckily surrounded by good people, and we're still friends to this day, but we were all misfits, like.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very ironic because I ended up then going back to teach, you know, students, and it was like, it's crazy from a different angle.
Yeah,
I mean, you learn a lot 100%. And you're like, well, I should have been a bit better, but yeah, I can just remember that whole school system thing just didn't really work for me, and it was that strict routine, it just didn't suit me, you know, and I remember from that age I was like, no, this is just not for me. So then I went on to university, then took a year out. My whole family was having a hernia because they were like, why, what are you
You're
doing?
ruining your life.
Do you know what I mean? Like, why are you taking a year out of school? I was like, I'll be grand. And then I did, and I just decided to go on my own path. I was like, I'll be grand. I ended up going to college, studying performing arts, and came out of it with distinctions, and then went on to Edge Hill University in Liverpool, where I had the best time. It was class. I really knuckled down, and it taught me nearly everything I know. It was a 3-year course, and I ended up coming out with a first class honours degree in it, but it taught me everything I know as a performer. Like, it really did, and it tested me in every way. Like, back then I was extremely, extremely headstrong, and there was nothing that would have got the better of me then. And I knew what I wanted to do. I had my eyes set on it, you know. That was creating performance, writing performance, acting, directing, SFX, makeup, literally all corners. And then I think I sang maybe once or twice, maybe at the most of it in there, but I was a nervous wreck, and it was only for the crack. It was more so like, you know, we were taking the piss, you know, so it wasn't actually me showing what I could do vocally because I was still nervous. It was like a cover up sort of thing, you know, we use comedy sort of to cover it up. But that's what I was doing, and then came out of there, got a couple of jobs. One of my old drama teachers, Bugsy McMahon, who's been very, very good to me throughout my whole drama career, he put me forward for my first audition in film, and I got it, and it was brilliant. It was directed by Campbell Miller, and it was a brilliant experience. And then I just was like, this is what I want to do. That was it, signed, sealed, delivered. And then the singing came after that, which was really strange, but everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely. You know no, I love it. And I think, like, even you sort of like saying school, secondary school, all of that wasn't for you. I think school is so fixated on, right, you need to be good at maths, English and science. Like, they don't think of how different people think. Like, they don't care about somebody good at drama, at arts and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
And I see it so much in young people, you know, who struggle academically but practically with their hands. You know, honestly, you know, if you let them lead in what they want to do, they'll find that.
They'll,
you know,
succeed.
They will. They really, really will. And I think schools are beginning now to implement programs that help with that, because they're sort of realising, you know, especially with our generations come up the ranks, and we all know now as a whole, we're like, no, that's not for them.
Yeah.
It's not for them. It's not working, you know, so let's find what will, you know. And I think that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about going back into that, ironically, even though I disliked school overall. I found that going back and working with wee students, you know, was healing parts of me that I didn't know needed to be healed, you know.
I love that.
That we like, you know, that the feeling of rejection that they were feeling and things like that I could nearly counsel them in a way that they needed to be, in a way that I wish I had have been.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And it completely makes sense, because that's all it comes down to. It's like, because I remember I was really good at art, as in like drawing, painting, all of that.
I can remember that.
Yeah, I so random. I fucking haven't drawn anything
amazing,
in
but
years.
you're very creative anyway, as a whole.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I was, obviously, I wouldn't even say I was good at sports, but I enjoyed PE, that side of things, right? And I remember them saying to me, I'm like, it's going to be something to do with arts or this, or languages as well. And I remember in school they were like to me, but what are you going to do in your future with that? And I just remember thinking, I'm like, why am I even taking the subject if I'm going to get that response? Do you know what I mean?
I know. And people used to laugh at me. Like, they actually used to laugh at me. Like, I've had, you know, a couple of ones go, right? And like, you know, whenever I was younger, I used to go, I want to be an actress, you know, I want to be an actress. And I remember telling my dad that from his no age, and he was actually taking paper off a wall, because he was a painter and decorator, and he was like, right, you write it on that wall what you're going to be when you're older, and he's going to paper it up again.
Yeah.
And I was like, right. And I was like, I am Casey-Jade Campbell, and I will be an actress and all this, you know. And I was no age, and then he repapered it. And it wasn't too long ago that they actually took the paper off, and that was revealed. There. And I was like, isn't that crazy? Like, but people used to laugh at me, and I was like, well, you know, they soon scoff all you want, you know, but.
Yeah, but I think that's just like limited mindset.
Yeah.
Because and that's nothing to do with, it's the way we've been raised.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I know, because such a society with just, you know, that is a tall poppy syndrome.
You follow a certain ladder, essentially.
Yes, that's the thing. And then, you know, it's nearly that you're afraid to let whatever's within out in that fear of being judged, you know. And that's such a thing, and especially in Northern Ireland
where we're at.
Oh, it's
100%.
crazy, like. And you know, I always remember feeling that, you know, that sort of just that need to just like get out, that just need to nearly run. But running doesn't help all your I've learned that anyway. But yeah, so what were we saying? I don't even remember.
No, yeah, about sort of like breaking down like small, not even, I wouldn't even say a small time mentality, but we are all just sort of raised in a certain type of way.
Yes.
What we should be doing and the sort of path we should all follow.
Yes, and the older you get, like honestly, whenever I look back, I was younger and I was so fearless, like I was fearless. And the older you get, and you know, I'm 28 now, and your 20s are hard. They are hard, and I didn't realise how hard they were going to be. But I think, you know, when you're younger, you feel obliged to fit in.
Of course, yeah.
And, you know, but I never felt that way anyway. And then, you know, as you were saying, judging and stuff, you realise the older you get, everybody's going through their own things.
Yeah.
And it's like nobody should be looking down on anybody unless you're helping them up. And you learn that the older you're getting, because life's hard, life's tough, and it gives plenty of curveballs on the way, you know.
For sure, and that's one thing like I always noticed and recognised about you. Yeah, all good. Yeah, that's one thing I always like recognised about you is that you weren't stuck in like the same sort of mindset. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And like you said, like, yeah, being judged is scary, but you also are willing to accept it. Like, okay, you do whatever you want to do without judgment. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But I think that comes down to you chasing your own goals when maybe those around you were sort of like, what are you doing kind of thing?
Exactly,
do you know what I mean? Like, what was your purpose? Whereas if somebody's very locked in that sort of like just general society, they are looking at you going, what is she doing?
I know.
You know?
Yeah, they just can't see beyond their own sort of path.
But it's comfort though, isn't it?
I know, it is a lot of the time. And, you know, you get it, even I see like on the likes of social media as well, you know, there is good parts to social media, of course, and then there's also the bad. But it's this sort of competition between people, and you know, it's not realistic, you know. And I just think that confident people don't compete.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, it's more about support and collaboration. And you also learn that as you grow older, you know, because when you're younger you don't, but you learn that, you know. Yeah,
for sure. And I think even like using other people as inspiration, do you know what I mean? There could be somebody out there doing the exact same thing as you, but in your eyes you're like, why are they so much further? And you go into that almost victim mentality, like we do the same thing. Why are they doing better? Why are they making, I don't know, more money? Why are they getting more gigs, for example? And things, you start to compare. But in all reality, it's like I would always look, like even with different coaches and stuff like that, naturally I would always look and be like, what are they doing that I'm not doing?
Yes.
And that I can use to better myself.
That's, you know, using it as inspiration,
exactly.
Literally, as you just said. And that's what we should be doing, instead of being like, oh, you know, trying to drag people down, and you know, it can just be such an unhealthy place, you know. And yeah, I'd be the same myself, and everybody's got something to offer. Do you know? 100%, and there's room for everybody. You know what I mean? Because everybody, you know, there's nobody that thinks exactly like us or who is exactly like us. You know, there's no two people in this world that's the same, and that's the beauty of it. You know, and as I said, there's room for everybody, especially in the creative industry and all that. And I think it's important that everybody has their own wee time to shine and what they love to do. You know.
For sure, because you have to show up as your own person. Like, authenticity speaks volumes.
I know.
You know, you can try and copy what everybody else is doing, but you're not them, and you never will, and they're not going to be you. You know, they might be better at a certain aspect, and yeah, fair enough. That's their stronger point, but they might be looking at you going, well, I wish I was doing what she's doing.
I know,
you
it's
know?
not the thing. I know. And that's what I've realised too, coming in, you know, to this age. Like, one of the biggest things about authenticity is learning how to be vulnerable.
Scary.
Oh, that punched me right in the gut. That did, like. And I think that's probably been my biggest lesson this year is learning vulnerability and navigating that. as somebody who was always so independent and strong. And it's sort of like, you know, you think you're doing great and you're going on this path and you're like, this is class, everything's going great. And then bang, you know, and, you know, you'd be knocked for six, but it's about building yourself back up and doing it through the likes of creativity. You know, if you love to write, you know, using it in a cathartic way to heal, you know, from your past wee traumas or the wounds that you need to heal and that inner child. And that's probably been my biggest path this year. Made many mistakes now along the way, but many mistakes along the way, and we'll make many more. But you know, it's all building character.
But that's exactly it. Look, you can look at them as mistakes or lessons.
Exactly.
You know, and that
lessons or blessings.
Exactly. It is. So whenever, like you said, like you could be on an absolute roll and life is just going to come and take everything away from you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can get everything you want, but it can also get taken away from you like that. But
100%.
like the reason behind this podcast, like everything happens for a reason. I'm such a big believer in that, because I'm like, you needed to go through that. You were lacking something. There was something you needed to learn.
100%. And that's what I'm really, really realising this past while, because, you know, there was this sort of wound within me. I used to call it a hole in the soul. And I used to just be like seeking something that would aid this wound, and I was seeking it in all the wrong places and in all.
You're just doing more and more damage.
And it was nearly like a form of self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't healing what needed to be healed. And, you know, now when you're looking at it, you know, sometimes you have to sort of step out of yourself and look and go, right, what are you doing here? Because you're repeating the same patterns over and over again, using unhealthy mechanisms to try and cope, or, you know, to feel whole. And it is, as I said, it is a form of self-sabotage, and you need to recognise these patterns, and you need to, you know, really get hold of them if you want to move on to that next stage in your life.
100%, because nothing changes until something changes, you know.
Exactly.
Like, especially like you said, you're going to keep repeating the same patterns. Like the universe is going to keep testing until you stop being silly and you learn your lesson.
100%. And it takes me a couple of runs. But,
yeah,
you know, I finally learned the lesson after a couple of slaps around the mouth. But I definitely, you do. And you have to learn the hard way sometimes. You really, really do. You have to learn the hard way. And I am one of them people that it would take a lot, because I would try to fix people in a way that, you know, and help people and things like that. But at a certain stage, you have to be like, right, is this beneficial? You know, sort of thing, you know, and, you know, you can't save who doesn't want to be saved.
Well, that's exactly, I was going to say, you can't fix somebody who's not ready to be fixed.
I know.
And as well as that, even if you tried, it's not down to you.
I know.
You know, they have to take control over their own life and realise where their traumas lie and where that comes from. And like you said, you end up self-sabotaging, but that's just because it's comfortable. Do you know what I mean? It's like people growing up in toxic households and then constantly going into abusive relationships. They know it's not right. 100%. They know they're not happy. They know the relationship is not where it should be, but it feels oddly familiar.
Yes, and that's the thing. And as you say, there's literally a comfort, and it's something, it's annoying, and you're happy, not happy, but you are comfortable. You're literally comfortable where you are, and there's no sense of that. See, I'd be one for the risk. And that you know what I mean? That used to be the thing for me. I was like, well, you know, especially because, you know, like I'd be a deep lover of poetry and all. And I was like, you know, if there's no risk, there's no reward.
Yeah.
Then, but using that in unhealthy ways. And, it, you know, I just really had to reel myself in and be like, right, okay, so how many times are you going to go down this path until you end up really, something really bad happens, you know? So I really had to reel it in and begin, you know, looking inward and healing those wounds. Yeah.
But that's it. And yeah, healing hurts. You know, like I feel like it's so glamorized on social media. It's like, oh, healing girly around. No, if you are healing properly, it is the hardest fucking thing you ever go through.
It really, really is. And it's, you know, and like, as you said there, like on social media, you're like, oh, you know,
healing girly era.
Matches.
Like, you know, that's not healing.
I'm like, no, that's not. It's really not. You know, healing is, you know, that bent over cry on the bathroom floor at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, and, you know, while you're trying to sober up but still want to be drunk, and doing the shadow work and making the worst mistakes of your life and trying to just keep your head above water. And I suppose, you know, one of the things I've noticed like as of recently is from trying to navigate the vulnerability is that's when I started taking panic attacks, because I was not used to
that discomfort.
Yeah. It was like, you know, once I started, like, it was like a stopped, because it was nearly as if I had always been in either fight or flight.
Yeah.
And once it stopped, I was like, what do I do? It was like, just
you don't know how to
everything just collapsed. And I was like, oh my goodness. So it was sort of, you know, that analogy that you can't outrun yourself. And it just slapped me up the face. And, you know, that's the panic attacks were even creeping in on stage and stuff, and I was like, this cannot go on. So that's when I was like, right, you need to kick up the arse, you know.
Yeah. And what do you think changed for you?
Through
like whenever you're like, I needed to kick up the ass, you know, it was time to basically heal what actually needed to be healed.
Just being sick of repeating that same
your own shit.
Yeah, sick of my own shit, literally. And you really, really do get to that stage where you're like, is this, you know who you are in a way. And then, you know, as life goes on, it's sort of raised and then put back in again and raised. And then things are being added to your character and taken away. And it just gets to that stage where you're like, who do I want to be?
100%. Because whenever you're hiding those parts, and like you said, you're running away from what's actually going on, you're not even being yourself.
Exactly.
You lose, the only person you lose in that moment, like, yeah, you might go through relationships, friendships and everything else, but you're losing yourself.
And it's not worth it.
And eventually you will have to come back to it, you know, and you're still going to have to do the work.
Exactly.
Yeah, like you said, crying in the bathroom at 3
a.m. Yeah, no, literally, like, and it's, you know, it has to be a realistic process, you know, and healing is hard. It really, really is. But it's worth it in the long run, you know, because when you stop, you know, you stop being afraid of being abandoned when you stop abandoning yourself.
100%.
So that's where I'm at.
I love it.
And we will keep her lit.
I love it.
We will keep her lit.
And I know you mentioned to me earlier that you sort of like found your faith.
Yes.
In the last wee while.
Yeah.
And I suppose what led to that, or talk to me a wee bit more about that.
Yes. So I would always have been very spiritual from I was younger. My family would be religious and spiritual, if you know what I mean. But for me, it would be more so spirituality. And then I would always been a big believer in God whenever I was younger. And then, you know, throughout the years, started to sort of lose that. And then it was, as I said earlier on, it was that hole in the soul. I was seeking something, but I didn't know what it was that I was seeking. Yeah. And I remember I ended up finding it in like crystals and tarot cards and witchcraft, basically.
Like, the Lulu stuff,
the witchcraft, like, and it was like being laid down every road but that road.
Yeah.
And you know, it wasn't until my sister, she had a wee baby there last year, and I was her birthing partner.
Okay.
And so we were in the ward and she was getting a section, and I remember standing there and I could see everything they were doing, and just honestly, hats off to every mother in this whole world. Like, honestly, it's fair play. And I was standing, oh my goodness.
That's a wound you're gonna have to heal.
Like, I was in the pub for 3 days later. No, I'm joking. No, I honestly, hats off. But I was standing there and I could see everything going on. But my wee nephew, and I remember them cutting her open and, you know, took him out, and he literally came out with a fist flying, and he was massive. And my sister is like tiny. Like, she is tiny. She's like a size 4. And
the baby's a size 8.
Literally. He came out swinging like Muhammad Ali. I was like, what is going on? And even Claudia was like, that's not my I was like, what? But we were wondering why she was so, like, she was massive. But the doctors were like, oh, it's all fluid. It's just fluid. It was so not fluid. He was £10. And she's like a size 4. He was £10. That was all baby. No wonder her back was racked. And he came out, but the next thing, he wasn't breathing. Whenever I had went into Mummy and Nanny and my Auntie Janice, the first thing I wasn't doing, I still was away making spells and putting out tarot cards on the table.
Yeah.
The first thing we done was get on our knees and pray it to the man above. What do you do? Do you know what I mean? When times get tough, like, and I was like, if that is what it's come down to, and in desperation, that's who I reached out to. So why am I going to deny him in every other aspect of my life now?
Okay.
You know?
It honestly makes sense.
Yes, yeah. So that's where it sort of really took off for me. And I've been following that road, and it can be a hard road, but it's also a really rewarding road. You know, and it's Christianity. And I never really had known much. You used to hear stories in school and stuff about Jesus and all, and Bethlehem, and you were singing Away in a Manger and all the rest, you know, but I hadn't a clue of the depth of the story until as of only recently, like. So now I just have, honestly, a newfound adoration and love for God, and you know, it's been prayer and it's been through praise that I've got up off my knees in the hardest of times, you know, once again as of recently. And yeah, he's got all of us through hardships there, you know, there, especially in my family, like. So yeah, that's where I'm at with faith.
You know what? That had actually made me a little bit emotional.
Oh, has it, Aiste? Oh.
No, well, firstly, Claudia's baby.
Yeah.
How is he now?
Oh, he's one, and he is class. I mean, honestly, he's mad, and he's mad red hair.
Really?
Mad ginger hair, but my daddy's side would be ginger, and
Okay.
I was born ginger too. And Claudia was like, he has, bless him, like, he's got eczema, red hair, hay fever, asthma. He's all these wee things, but I have all them things too. And Claudia goes, I literally was a surrogate for you. and then she's like, I hope you're a surrogate for me. And I was like, oh, good luck to me. But yeah, no, he is doing absolutely brilliant, and he's such a smart, intelligent wee child, and he just really brought everyone in our family together. Like, he's just made us all bond, you know. And, you know, children are a blessing. Like, they really, really are a complete wee blessing. But yeah, and Claudia's doing great. So she's doing really, really well. And she is also beginning to look down that road as well, because of how I suppose God intervened, you know.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And I think faith, no matter who or what you essentially believe in personally, like, I think everybody needs that. Mm-hmm. Like, it could be absolutely anything, but everybody needs that, because like you said, in the moment you felt completely helpless, you needed something or someone to turn to.
Exactly.
That was above the power that we have.
100%,
you know?
and something outside of yourself, you know. And as I was saying there, once again, that hole in the soul that I was seeking earlier in my life, I was seeking it through alcohol, drugs, really bad relationships, and, you know, once again repeating those same patterns. That it was like a hamster wheel. It was going round and round and round. And then, you know, since I've began this journey, you realise what you're doing, and, you know, these coping mechanisms that you're going to and things like that there. And honestly, you know, through my faith, I have learned as to why I go for those things. You know what I mean?
100%, yeah.
And, you know, it's a hard thing too, you know, because I know everybody goes through hardships in life, you know, but I do agree with you in saying, you know, it's looking somewhere outside of yourself, you know, to sort of really hold that in. And since, like, as I said, you'll fall many, many times, you know, but you'll rise. And if it helps you in the journey of even becoming a better person, sure, it's worth it. You know, in the end, it's worth it, you know.
But that's exactly it, because now you feel like you have a purpose and a path, and you're not using distractions. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, you're making mistakes. You're still going to make loads of mistakes, but that is just the journey of life.
And that is the journey of life, and it's how you recover from those, you know. And it's no matter how many times you're knocked down, you just, you know, it's how many times you got back up that counts.
100%.
You know, and you just have to keep going. You have to keep fighting, and you have to keep fighting for what you believe in as a person.
Yeah.
And try and make a difference wherever you go, I suppose, you know. bring your strengths to the table and also your vulnerability is what I'm learning. Even if you have to cry, like, you know, it's grand, it's good, it's good.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that's where I'm at with that. And I suppose with drinking, you know, and things, it's also a really big part in our society in today's age, like, and you know, it's a form of socializing. And it's crazy because I didn't realise there was really a problem with that until you stop doing it.
Yeah.
And then you have very little places you're able to go without, you know, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, I think especially here, because it is that sort of culture, like sunshine and beer garden.
Literally.
Nobody thinks, let's go have a picnic.
I
Do you know what I mean?
like,
Let's go to the
do we
beach.
ham sandwich?
Literally, it's beer garden. It is so normalized.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
And just that is what you associate your weekends with, and especially growing up around that, and because you were maybe in that environment.
Yes.
Coming away from that can be really hard, and especially finding your people coming away from that.
Oh, 100%.
Because you essentially were spending like your weekends with, I don't want to say party friends, but
yes,
you know, somebody you go to a pub with essentially.
Yeah.
And then when you're leaving the pub and you're trying to take them out of it, they think you're fucking mad.
I know. And then you end up a loner.
Yeah,
Like
having a picnic.
On your own eating a ham sandwich in the park. Healing.
See, that is healing.
Exactly. But yeah, like that is the case. And I've just realised, like, and don't get me wrong, because I went through a phase where I wasn't drinking for a good while. And then, you know, as I said, you fall and end up drinking, and, you know, but then the feeling you get afterwards, the shame, the guilt and all this crack. And I'm like, it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
You know, so from here on out, that's sort of me on my road to not drinking excessively and just not using it as a vice to cope anymore.
100%. And I think it comes down to, like, if you have a drink and you want to go and enjoy yourself, it's fine because you're in control. You're not doing it just for the sake of, it's a Friday, Saturday night.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And you're essentially, you know what your values are now. You have everything in line.
Yes.
By crossing those every single time something crops up, you're disrespecting yourself.
100%. And you're crossing your own boundaries, which is abandoning yourself once again. And we're not for doing that this time around.
We're doing it right.
We're doing it right. We're doing it right. Yes.
No, I love it. Honestly, this was so insightful.
Good.
Oh my God.
Good.
Loved it.
And you know what it is too? Like, since I've joined a church, and since I'm not joking, the amount of things that's happened in my life recently, like, if I went into it, I'll tell you some other time because your mind will be blown. But if I told you the extent of things and what went down, and this wee church that I joined, I have really good mentors, you know, through faith, and I've one who lives in America. He's called Mike, and he is one of the kindest men I've ever met. Me and him would have, like, you know, maybe like fortnightly to monthly phone calls and just talk about life and everything, and you know, just how things can get us down, and you know, the importance of prayer and God, and making sure that God's within our lives and working through us and all the rest. But there's him, and then there's Sam, who's the runner of the church in Island that I go to, and see the community that I have found, and the comfort that I am surrounded with at the moment is just amazing. And like, they have texted me, like, you wouldn't hear from anybody for ages, and you see whenever all that was going down, they were in on me, like, it was crazy. And it was, oh, by the way, Casey, God's put it on my heart to reach out to you. Are you okay?
Down to simple things.
And this was consecutively, like,
you
know, and I was like, you know, people think I'm a Fruit Loop, but I was like, I'm telling you, lads.
No, but I don't even think it comes down to that. People might think that because they haven't hit that point where they needed to really just rely on something to help them.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, it doesn't have to be God directly. It could be whatever you believe in, the universe or whatever, from that side of things. But you have to hit rock bottom. That was such a scary time for you and your family. And
yes, as well as everything else going on at that time. You know, there was a lot more, and you know, obviously that would take another maybe day to go into. But as you said, like, that was definitely the pillar.
Yeah,
that was the pillar moment. And I was like, no, you know, because as I said, I wasn't away going looking crystals and you know, making spells and potions out the back, like, you know.
The witchcraft wasn't helping
No,
this time.
do you know what I mean? I wasn't in a cauldron whipping up an oil potion, but I got on my knees and I prayed, you know, and that's what I was like, well, as I said there, you know, if I'm going to do that in a time of desperation, I'm not going to deny him in any other aspect of my life, because I've only got this far because of him.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course.
We're going to have a picnic now.
Sun shining. We're not going to beer garden.
No beer.
Honestly, thank you so much for coming on. It was, a beautiful conversation.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. We could talk all night.
Good. We could. We have to wrap it up though.
Okay, wrap it up.
But thank you so much, everybody, for listening, and I will see you all next Wednesday.
Bye.